Breaking. This is out of the Kobisi letter, and they just posted, this is an account on X, and they just posted that consumer sentiment falls to its lowest level on record in data going back to 1952, down another 10% since last month. Consumers now see inflation rising to 4.8% over the next 12 months. This puts consumer sentiment index down negative 21% since February 2026 before the Iran war. Not even the 1980s saw consumer sentiment this low. And then there's a follow-up here that I want to get to. There's another account, it commented first, it's called Truflation. And Truflation says, we're tracking this divergence in real time using 35 million data. I mean, they're kind of advertising here, but they are a good source to see the inflation index. Truflation is claiming that inflation is at 2.05%. And so it's a more nuanced picture than traditional lagging metrics with transparent category breakdown, housing, transport, etc. So definitely check out Truflation and the Kobisi letter, and see what you can see with the data. But the reality is consumers are feeling the pinch when it comes to the cost of things. I mean, definitely gas prices being this high going into Memorial Day weekend, that obviously makes everyone second guess their travel plans, makes them question things. And then of course, like, just everything seems to be so expensive these days. And so no wonder consumers are feeling down about spending, about their finances and everything. And I know from my business and some of the things I do and sell, and for some of my clients, we're seeing sales decline for some products and services. And it's not that people don't want solutions, it's that they're just holding on to their wallets a little tighter. They are being a little more cautious with things because there's so much uncertainty in the markets. There's so much uncertainty about their financial health and their financial future that they are being more particular with what they spend money on and how they spend and what they go out, which it's not a bad thing, right? When there's uncertainty, for you to be more discerning with how you spend your money. But we have to recognize, as creators, as entrepreneurs, as people that build businesses and courses and products, where the consumer is at, and find ways to help and support them in a way that helps them get out of this funk, right? That doesn't extract, but adds value. And that's very, very important. And so if you're listening to this and you're feeling down, hey, you're not alone. We're all feeling the pinch in our own ways. I mean, the cost of gas, I have this truck here, and diesel's like $6-7 a gallon. I haven't filled this thing up in months. I hardly drive it because of that expense. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to drive this as much because of that. And then just even going out to eat and shopping, I'm watching how much I spend. I've seen my grocery bills go up, everything go up, and on top of other expenses. So I know people are feeling this, and it's definitely a bummer. And one of the things that can really help this is, obviously, if we can get the Iran war ended, oil prices, if those can come back down, we could see some relief at the pumps. That would provide a lot of relief for consumers, and that'd be great. But the reality is we can't control those things. You can't control those things. I can't control those things. I wish I could. I wish I could snap my fingers and, solve those problems. And that'd be fantastic. That'd be great. But that's not the reality of the world that we live in. So when there's times like this, I recommend, and this is what I do, is focus on the things that you can control. Focus on learning new skills. Focus on looking at where your experiences are, your skill sets are, and finding ways that you can acquire those new skills and experiences so that you become more valuable in your job, in the workforce, or if you're looking for a job, you become more desirable for recruiters, for companies. And it takes a little work, right? And that's the reality. You got to buckle down and do the work, and then just focus on what you can control. Because you can control, right, the education that you go and pursue. Okay, now is not the time to sit back and be like, woe is me, I can't do anything about my situation. It's like, okay, how can I pick up another job? How can I go? And I joke about this when I talk about AI. I'm not even gonna sell you my AI course, my AI program in this. It's not a course, it's a membership, but I'm not even gonna put that in there. But I joke about this, saying, hey, like, if you're serious about leveling up, AI is one of the most valuable things that you can do. And using that plus your experience and skill set, enhancing yourself with it, regardless if you hate it or not, it's just the reality. It's like a cell phone here. It is becoming an essential tool to have in the modern day workforce, okay? And I generally recommend that you try to get the most expensive model, like the top tier model, so you can use it to its full potential. So you can learn to use it to its full potential and not just like a chatbot. And I joke saying, hey, because these top tier models, they're expensive, right? They're like $200 a month. And especially on top of times when like gas is expensive, food's expensive, housing is expensive, everything's expensive. You're like, where can that money come from? And rather than saying, where can that money come from as like a rhetorical question and being bitter about it, right? Take it as a challenge and be like, okay, how can I generate that extra money to cover these extra bills? Where can I dig deep? Where can I find this stuff? I know a lot of people are already digging deep. They're already struggling. They're already trying things, but you have to think, okay, where can I focus my time and attention better so that I get the value that I need to sustain my life, right? To sustain what I need to sustain and support my family, to again, level up my skills for the short term and the long term. And I joke, say, hey, go cut some grass, go wash some windows. There was a time in my life where I needed some extra money and I started a pressure washing business. I went out, I watched some videos on YouTube, I figured out what tools to get started with the pressure washing business, and I started pressure washing. And you could charge $250, $500, $1,000 a job and do a couple jobs per weekend, especially if you're in an area where there is a lot of humidity and you get more of that kind of mold and stuff and organic matter growing on the sides of houses and driveways and stuff like that. That's a viable business. You come in, you learn how to do pressure washing, you learn how to do soft washing, and make sure you comply with the local laws and regulations about water reclamation. But that's a really good side business. I think all in, I spent like $1,000 to $1,500 getting a decent 4-gallon per minute pressure washer, not the top of the line, but a decent one, getting the hoses and the nozzles and all of that, and the chemicals that you need. Basically, it's bleach. You basically need bleach, and you use a diluted bleach mixture for soft washing, and to start pressure washing. And I earned, several $1,000s over the course of that summer that helped put extra money in my pocket. I took initiative and went out and did that. And you might be like, okay, well, that's expensive, Dylan. Okay, well, there's other ways you can do it. I mean, $1,500, there was a 0% interest, 12-month loan on the machine. So you could easily put it on that. And then you could use, so you can get your gear, you can get your equipment, you can get started, especially going into the summer. Lots of opportunities there, and then you can pay that off over the course of the year by going out and doing the work. I don't recommend people taking out loans just on frivolous things, but if it's a business you're starting and it's $1,500 to $2,000 to get going, and you're serious about it, you can make that money up. That's pressure washing. You can cut grass. People need their lawns cut. You can do gardening. I know myself, like I'm looking at my plants and I'm like, I don't have time to do the gardening myself. I know, like, well. Spoiled Dylan, but I don't have time. It's not my skill set, right? That's not like what I focus on for my house. I need to pay a gardener to come in and clean up some of my plants and trim some of my trees and stuff like that and make it look nice, pull some weeds. So there's people that have money or don't have the time that need help with that. You can do gardening, you can cut grass, you can wash windows. There's so many different things that you can go out and do for a few hours on the weekend to earn some extra cash so that you can, afford those grocery bills. You can make those car payments. You can spend a little bit more on gas to take your family on a trip or whatnot. Or you can invest in the higher tier AI models. You can work with AI to come up with a game plan on how you can make some extra money. You can go to garage sales. You can find stuff to flip. There's all these opportunities out there for the people who take action during this time. And it's not easy, and it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, especially if this is new for you, but there's always opportunity. There's always ways to make a little bit extra money and to get moving and get into that groove of not being a victim and of being someone who takes initiative and adapts to the situations. And of course, hard times, they pass. And if you can work hard during the hard times, right, and level up, make some extra cash, you'll be much better off when the good times come, because what you're doing is you're setting yourself up to have an abundance mindset. You're putting yourself in motion, right? An object in motion stays at motion. Object at rest stays at rest. So if you're back and being defensive and worried about everything, you're not in a good mindset and position to take advantage of opportunities when they come, right? But if you do move forward, if you do take action, even if it's small, even if you don't have the greatest results, you at least are positioning, right, to be more adaptable. And that's something that's always gotten me through hard times. The other thing that you can do, right, if everything feels overwhelming, and this is something I did during COVID, when everyone was just drinking and sitting around all day. I was looking around at my peers and people around me, and my business had completely collapsed. And I was like, well, what can I do? And for me, the thing that I always fall back on during hard times is I always fall back on focusing on my health and fitness. Over this past year, right, things have been hard. It's been chaotic. Things have been good, but also things have been not as good as I would have liked, a little bit chaotic. I've lost 30 pounds, over 30 pounds since the end of January, because I've just focused on my health and fitness. It means I've cut out drinking, haven't had a drop of alcohol. I've cut down on eating out. I've cut down on what I eat at home, right? I've been very diligent about my diet and what I go and buy at the grocery store. And I've made sure I've gone to the gym. I've worked out. I've picked up boxing. I've invested that money that I would have spent on those other things in my health. And now going into the summer, I'm 30 pounds lighter. I feel better. I'm healthier. I feel more focused. I have the energy so that I can utilize that energy to do a little bit extra work. And so if you're in this situation, and you're like, man, I don't even know if I want to cut grass or whatnot, or maybe that's not what you want to do, focus on your health. Right? Start going to the gym, start dialing it in your diet, cut out the excess stuff, cut out the junk food, cut out the alcohol, right? Focus on that this summer. And I can basically guarantee that by the end of the summer, not only will you be in better shape, you'll have higher energy levels, you'll feel better, and you'll be in a better headspace to tackle whatever happens. Because my view with COVID was like, man, we don't know what's going to happen in the world. We don't know what's going on. At least what I can do is I can control my body. Okay. I can control my health to the best of my ability. So whatever happens, at least I have that. At least I can run. At least I'm strong. At least I feel healthy. At least my immune system is working well. And by doing that, I created more and more opportunities for myself, right? I wasn't a woe is me. I wasn't always in a drunken stupor like a lot of people were during that time, right? I was active and took action. And instead of having, coming out of COVID and those times being 20, 30 pounds heavier than I was before, like a lot of people were, I was, 20 pounds lighter. And so challenges like the 75 hard, live hard challenge, whatever it is, or picking up a new type of hobby, I recommend boxing. I've been doing that. It's been incredible, right? It's fun. It's challenging. I see people in there at all age ranges. There's people that are 60 plus in the gym learning how to box. And there's gyms out there that you can do that. Picking up lifting, putting on some extra muscle. All these things are great and amazing things that you can do during these hard times. And they combat that kind of malaise that you might feel when you're looking around, like, man, everything's so expensive. It's like, okay, just shift your frame of reference, shift what you're focusing on, try to level yourself up in the areas that you can control, and I guarantee you'll be better off, okay? Those of you that do that, right, if you choose to take action on that, you're going to have a great time no matter what. I mean, hey, we only got this one life. All you can do is like look around, you have the present, and you're like, okay, what can I do in the present to, enjoy the things I have at hand, right? And to move closer to the goals that I want to have. And so taking action and doing that stuff is my recommendation for these tough times. I know it doesn't solve all the problems, but it sure as hell solves a lot of problems. And I guarantee, it's a lot better to be fit, happy, and healthy and dealing with stuff than be fat and unhealthy and lazy and have that scarcity mindset when dealing with hard times. It's worked for me. And I hope that you consider this and that you take action on this and you make that stuff work for you, because I think there's going to be a ton of opportunities now and in the future. You just have to open your mind up for this. So that is it for this one. Take action, focus on the things that you can control. Don't worry as much about the things you can't control. And by the time when these things line up, when the bad times go away and the good times start again, you'll be ready to capitalize on that. You'll be hitting the ground running much better than if you just sat around and did nothing. So that is it for this one. Subscribe and follow along for more. Peace.